Hello, welcome to this episode of Martial Truth, Tournaments and Competitions. Before we get started with that, I received some bad news yesterday. A true legend and pioneer in karate passed away. Robert Choji Tayani, Judan Hanshi in Goju-Ryu. An incredible resume in the martial arts. Someone I trained with for quite a while in New York who really helped me put my karate on a different path. Can never thank him enough for that. We had grown apart in the last several years, and that happens sometimes with people, but I always remember him and have a deep love for what he taught me and showed me. He was someone who trained and lived in Japan, trained with Gogen the Cat Yamaguchi, Sosui Ishikawa Sensei, a deep student of the Bubishi, okay, excellent understanding of Bunkai and Kata, and he's someone that will be truly missed, okay. Those of you that don't know or are unaware of him, look him up, okay. He was also a very big sport karate when it was in its heyday, for guys like Mike Stone, you know, those kinds of that time frame in the sport karate world. So I just want to offer my condolences to his family, his students. You know, it's a sad day whenever we lose one of these pioneers, and sadly we lose too many of them. All right, so rest in peace, Tayani Sensei. All right. As always, if you like the video, please click like, subscribe, consider becoming a member. You know, and like I said, there'll be no podcast next week. I'm actually going on a vacation, so no podcast next week. I'll be dropping videos during the week, maybe not every day, but there'll be videos being dropped, okay? And without any further ado, let's talk about tournaments and competition. So, karate tournaments. So the first karate tournament I go to is 1981, I believe. It's in, I believe, Freehold, New Jersey, and it's the Ishiro World Karate Association Championships. I'm a brown belt. I got to attend a seminar with Master Kichiro Shimabuku, which was the first time I kind of met him, but it was not really, right, because I'm a brown belt and, you know, whatever. But I got to train Sai with him, and I competed in the tournament. And my impression as a young guy was, and again, in 81, I'm 17, 18 years old, okay, it was kind of controlled chaos, and it wasn't very organized. And many of the early tournaments I attended, that's the feeling I had. All right. And then slowly, some of the people that hosted tournaments tried to work on it and get the tournament experience a little better, okay? So for instance, I attended a bunch of Sensei Nick Adler's Samurai Spirit tournaments in the early 1990s, competed in a bunch of them. My students went out. They were fun. They were much more organized, traditional. The reffing was taken a little more serious. But, you know, I still saw things that I would just shake my head at. You know, again, typical. You know, person comes up, you know, their instructor's sitting by me, and, you know, the instructor gives them a high score. Or their instructor gives them a really low score, which, again, if, you know, we're all giving them a pretty good score, but you're like, oh, well, I don't want to give him too high because he's my student. And you're hurting your own student. So I just always found certain things like that with tournaments to be a huge problem, okay, where not a lot of consistency. And then, like me, I have a tendency to score a little lower at tournaments, okay? So sometimes I get dirty looks from people. Don't really care, all right? I don't go to a lot of tournaments because, frankly, I don't like them, all right? It's not part of my thing in martial arts. I mean, I speak to people all the time, you know, like I'm constantly getting, when COVID hit, you know, well, when's the next IWK championships going to be? When's the next, you know, without the IWK championships, where are we? Where are we? We're trying to teach good karate to our students in our classes and keep our dojos open, okay? Tournaments are really not helping us with that, okay? You know, tournaments an ego gratification thing. Nothing wrong with that. I think they're good short-term goals. You know, I have a student right now that's planning on competing in the next World Championships, which are being held the first weekend in August in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Okay. You can go, on the IWK Facebook page. You'll see there's plenty of information there for it. There's still time to register. All right. So that's happening in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. In August. Master Shimabuku is planning on attending, so it'd be great to see him again. And I told my student who's competing, I said, use it as a short-term goal to improve your karate. So you work for a couple of months, you pick specific kata, and you really work those kata hard, and you try to improve those kata. And improving those kata, you'll improve your other kata. All right. I don't allow my students to compete in the sparring. It's quite simple. It develops bad habits. I want my students to be proficient that one time in their life when they have to save themselves or someone else. This idea of scoring a point, of playing tag, of jumping and bouncing around, no. I don't do that in my dojo. I do have some students that are into sport karate, and those students decide to train that a lot in their schools. That's their prerogative, okay? I don't make anybody do anything. If you're a dojo owner and you happen to train under me, I'm not going to tell you. I will give you advice, but I'm not going to tell you how to train. I will say my one student who is very, very into sport karate only has teenagers. So he has no adult students, okay? So just something to keep in mind. I'm often asked why I have so many adult students, and it's because my adult classes are serious martial arts classes. Okay, they're not, oh, I scored 3 points on the brown belt tonight. I'm only a green belt. Boy, am I good. That guy had a bad night. You had a great night. Whatever. Okay, look. I could go out and spar with anybody and they could, score 3 points at me. I don't score a point on them. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's one thing. Somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to lose. That first tournament in 81, I competed in sparring. And when I saw the points scored against me, 2 of them, the guy missed me completely. And the judges, their flags went up for him. And I just said to myself, I said, this is a total waste of time. And I never completed in sparring again. And I was at a dinner one night before one of Sensei Adler's tournaments, and one of Sensei Adler's senior students, I was sitting with Sensei Adler, and the student said to me, he goes, Mike, he goes, you don't compete in the sparring. I said, no. And he goes, well, how do you know your karate works? And Sensei Adler started laughing. And I said, well, the other night, I had to fight 3 guys on a subway platform that was about 5 feet wide at 3 o'clock in the morning. And the fact that I'm sitting here speaking to you means my karate works. And then I looked at him and I said, when's the last time you had a real fight? And this guy was about my age, and he goes, oh, I haven't had a real fight since high school. And I'm like, right, well, I don't have that luxury. I do a dangerous job. I'm on, at that time in my transit police career, I was on solo patrol, okay? So you're by yourself, wandering around out there. If you're dealing with multiple adversaries, right, that you're trying to arrest or whatever it is you're dealing with them, well, good luck, because people aren't getting there to help you for a while. And if you're in certain parts or you're on a moving train when it happens, they're really not getting to you for a while, okay? So when I answered him that question, he went, oh, and then he turned to Sensei Adler and said, oh, now I understand why you're laughing. So my juices don't get flowing for sparring, putting on foam gear and sparring. Again, if that's what you enjoy, you're allowed to enjoy any aspect of martial arts that makes you happy. So I'm not knocking you. I'm not telling you shouldn't do that. I'm just saying it's not for me. So if you enjoy it, by all means do it. Okay? Enjoy yourself. All right? There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the sports competition. But let's talk a little bit about what I feel are some of the problems with karate as a sports competition. While in Japan, I was sitting having a discussion with Gakiya Yoshiaki and Isao Irei Sensei. Isao Irei Sensei is a senior teacher of Ryukyu Kempo. Gakiya Yoshiaki was my Mariyoshi Kobudo teacher. And Isawi Ray spoke perfect English, lived in the States for a long time. So he was asking me and explaining to me that one of the problems they see on Okinawa is that they lose the student at around middle school. And middle school in Okinawa is around that, 11, 12-year-old mark. Okay. And I said, well, what happens at that time in a child's life is in school, they start doing more competitive athletics. And Isawi Ray said, yeah, he goes at that age here, they start playing soccer, basketball, baseball. Okay. And I said, yeah, right. So let's compare them as sports. Because Isawi Ray and Gakia Sensei was saying they lose the student at that point. Like that's when the student gets bored. And now he's doing soccer, basketball, baseball, whatever it is. So now the kid's playing soccer. He's running up and down the field for an hour, hour and a half, however long it is. He's playing baseball. He's got to react. He's getting up. He's getting 3 at-bats a game, okay? If he's pitching the whole game. If he's catching every ball, all right? You're involved in the game. You're involved. You're doing something, okay? Right. Basketball, the same thing, running up and down the court, taking shots, passing the ball. There's a lot of action. You're moving. Okay. So now you're the little kid. You go to the karate tournament. And you compete in kata. And you go out, you do your kata, and it depends on how the rules are, but let's say, first 3 people place, that's it, okay? You go out, you go up, you do your kata. How long does the kata take? Maybe let's be generous and say the kata takes a minute, which it probably doesn't, but let's say it does. Let's say it takes 2 minutes or 3 minutes. We'll be crazy generous, say 3 minutes, right? Now you've been sitting there. Maybe for, you get there early, you register, you get your info. Now you call to your ring, you sit down, you're sitting there. Maybe there's 20 competitors, maybe there's 30, maybe there's only 3, depends, right? But let's say there's 20, okay, and you go last. So now you're sitting there for 20, 30 minutes, waiting to go. Now you go last, and, you don't get a good score. Or maybe you get a great score and you win, okay? Because that's another thing I've noticed. The people that go up first at the tournament have a tendency, they don't always win, even if their kata was better. Because they have a tendency to forget what the scores were initially, and they just keep changing their scores. And then some people suffer. Okay. And, I tell my own students when they would complain about judging, I'd say, well, someone's got to win and someone's got to lose. And the other thing I would teach my little kids that would compete, and remember, a lot of my kids only competed very rarely in tournaments, Sensei Adler's tournaments. Tommy May used to have a tournament that I would bring some people up to. And then, obviously, the Ishinru World Karate Association Championships. And I would tell the kids before they leave, I would say, listen, if you win, great. If you lose, that's okay too. And it's very easy to win. Let's see how you handle losing. Because losing is the thing that really teaches us something. And as a little kid, you have to learn to lose. And the problem in modern times is they want everybody to get a trophy. And what happens is you have kids like we're seeing now on the college campuses acting the way they are because they think they can do whatever they want. You have kids at jobs that think, well, I don't have to do that much and I should still get promoted. Why the guy that's coming in extra, working longer hours, really trying hard, why should he get promoted? I should get promoted too. I'm as good as him, right? This is what you foster and develop. So for you parents out there, your kid shouldn't get a trophy if he doesn't come in first 3 places. Now, some tournaments now give out consolation medals. Okay, if you want to do that, fine. But what happens to the striving, right? Like your kid loses and your kid is upset, he's crying, and now you sit him down and you say to him, okay, well, do you want to give up? Or do you want to work harder and try to do better at the next one? And hopefully the kid says, I want to do better, try harder, work harder, and I want to try this again. I want to see if I can do better. That's how you build character. If you're a parent, you don't tell little Johnny or little Jane, okay, oh, you got robbed. Those guys, their scores were terrible. You should have won. Okay, so what are you creating? You're creating a child that can't accept failure and believes it's never his fault, it's always somebody else's fault. So this is some things that I see at karate tournaments. I've seen at karate tournaments. Um, I was reffing one time. I was a corner judge. Center referee was a nice guy. I knew him, right? And this kid started cursing. And we got warned, and he cursed again. And the center ref called us all together. And everybody was like humming, humming, humming. And I looked at everybody and I said, disqualify him right now. And the center ref said, yeah. I said, yeah. I said, we can't have this. He's a young kid. He can't be cursing, talking to us like that. Disqualify him. I said, I'll back you. So he disqualified him, and sure enough, the father came over, and I went right up to the father. I took him on the side. I said, let me explain something to you. Your son cursed at us twice. So I don't want to hear nothing. Straighten your kid out. Teach him how to act. Okay? He's disqualified. It's over. And the father just looked at me and goes, he cursed at you? I said, yeah. He goes, all right, all right. And he walked away. But right away, he's coming over ready to fight before he knows what his son did. Okay? And I say to myself, why is his son acting like that? Well, because he's probably allowed to act like that in a dojo. He's probably allowed to act like that at home. Okay? So, but often I see behavior I don't like at tournaments and nothing gets done about it. Because again, the judges are afraid to disqualify. They don't want to deal with confrontation, all right? It's a huge problem. So, I'll tell you my personal experience with tournaments. You know, I won third place, I think, at one of Sensei Adler's tournaments one time. You know, it was a Samurai Spirit tournament, so it was, you know, all traditional styles. It was weapons, okay, which is great. And then, you know, the IWK championships, I competed a bunch of times. I didn't win. Had guys that won come up to me and say, wow, you know, your kata was better. You should have won. But, you know, at that time, let's just say I wasn't as popular. And then I started going to Okinawa, and I started having a fairly good relationship with Master Shimabuku, and then all of a sudden I start winning some of the IWK tournaments. Again, only kata. I don't do the fighting. And I wasn't foolish enough to think that, well, it was because my kata was so much better than it used to be, right? I just thought it was like, well, you know, they were noticing me more because of my relationship with Master Shimabuku, right? So, you know, that's why I personally don't take them too serious. So let me talk about some of the other problems. Rules are different for every tournament. Every tournament, they're different. The IWK championships, they've been different. Don't tell me they haven't. I've been going to them since '81. The rules are slightly different at almost every tournament. The one I hosted in Europe with my student Ramathas, we use the WUKEF rules, right? And a lot of guys complained about that. But at least there are standard rules. They're used at a lot of tournaments in Europe, okay? And not just in Europe anymore, all over. But the karate sports world just can't get their act together, okay? They can't all get together and say, okay, these are going to be the rules for every tournament. No good, okay? And going back to my previous point, you know, the kid goes up, he does the kata for 2 minutes, he loses, that's his day. Now he goes up, he spars, he loses his first match. So he's done karate at the tournament for a total of about 3 or 4 minutes. It's kind of boring. It's a boring sport. Now he starts playing soccer and basketball. He's like, oh, this is fun. And now he's all of a sudden not that interested in karate. And what I had told Isaoi Rei and Gakiya Sensei was that, you know, you made karate not about self-defense. You made it about sport in Okinawa. And now you're suffering the consequences. Because I keep kids, a lot of kids in my dojo in New York, they start and it's always about self-defense. It's not about winning tournaments. And as they last, a lot of them start with me at 4 and 5 and they go into the adult class at 12 or 13. And they're now prepared for the adult class, which is a very serious study. We're talking about a lot of dangerous topics, subjects, self-defense, right? All the different ramifications of it, everything. So it makes it interesting. It's different from sport. But if you're going to do it as a sport, there needs to be some serious consideration of how this is going to be done in the future. And they have made some progress in that, but my daughter was a competitive dancer. And my wife went to one of the first dance competitions. And when she came home, the first thing she said to me was, boy, you karate guys could learn a lot from these competitive dance competitions. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Because I hadn't gone to one yet. So they have the judges sit in front of the stage. There's, if it's a single dance, not a group dance, if it's a single dance, the single dance is up there. They have a headset on and a microphone, the judges, and they sit there and they have a computer screen in front of them or an iPad, whatever it is. And there's criteria and curriculum. And you're entering for each thing, each particular criteria as you're watching the person, and you're speaking. And the speaking part is recorded, and that's given to the dance teachers. So they can go back, listen to it, and say, oh, okay, this is what I need to work with on this student. This is what I need to do with this student. So it's a very, very formal, clear system, okay? Technique, you give this score, whatever, presentation, carriage, right? Whatever the categories are in the dance world, all right? And now they give it, right? And so they don't have time to be thinking, about anything else, these judges, other than talking about what they're seeing the person dance and entering their scores. And it's immediately finished. And there's 3 or 4 of them, and they've all got this set up. And then that one goes off, and then the next one comes on, and these guys are blah, blah, blah. And then, they'll take a break because these guys need a break. It's nonstop. But the first time I went to one of my daughter's dance competitions, I was blown away with how they did it. Okay? Now, I understand we have a problem, right? Because in a lot of karate tournaments, you have multiple rings, right? I get it, right? So you'd have to have little iPads or computers for everyone. But, this day and age, most people have an iPad. So most of the judges could bring an iPad. An app could be created, a single app for kata judging, right? And as that person comes up, right, boom, their name comes up, and, you do it. And, that's how it could be done. And there'd be a lot less shenanigans, okay? Because I've seen plenty of shenanigans at martial arts tournaments, okay, where I'm literally just shaking my head, all right? So my 2 cents on tournaments, I'm not against them. It's just not for me. I think people put too much weight on them as an important thing. I think some people need to realize and admit the fact that it's about their ego, okay, which is, again, nothing wrong with that. But, the guy that goes to the karate tournament on the weekend and, he goes to work at his desk job on Monday and he's got the little shiner here, right? And the guy says at the water cooler, hey, Bob, how'd you get that little shiner? Well, I competed at the karate tournament this weekend. I took 3rd place. So again, that's great. If that's what you need, by all means, do it if it makes you happy. Again, I want people to be happy, all right? I want to be happy. I'm happy not doing tournaments, okay? The World Championships, I go every 2 years. I don't compete anymore, all right? I have a few students competing this year. My group from London is also coming, so they'll be competing. And I hope they do great. And I hope they have a lot of fun. And I tell the kids when they go and compete, if you lose, I am not going to think any less of you. If you win, I am not going to think any more of you. Because when we get back to class, we have to train. And that's the important thing. The training, the experience of the martial arts, the diving deeply into the study of these profound arts that we study. If you like tournaments, God bless you, okay? And I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, I want to offer my condolences on the passing of Robert Choji Tayani, all right? An important figure in martial arts, especially in the study of the Bubishi. If you like the podcast, please click like, subscribe, share. We have products there, all right? And I have a few more interviews lined up, coming up, but I'm on vacation next week, so I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks again. Take care.